Okay, guys, I'm going to try and make this really brief. So, I've already calibrated this. I'm just going to walk through it real quick. Um, Basically, I'm taking this pretty seriously. I'm about to start this as a business. Not so much as a business, just something. Oh, answer. Well, that's not good. Might mean I need to take the battery out. Yeah, that's why. Okay, we gotta go. Oh, gotta go mode and get it out of that mode and put it into. Oh, that's weird. Apparently, my scale is having a problem. Oh, there we go. That's the first time I've seen it have any kind of a problem. Well, let's see if it really is okay. We're gonna calibrate it. I might just need to change my batteries. Okay, get our weight, push it again, wait for it to ask for the weight, because it'll ask for it, and then try and put it directly in the center. And once you set it down, don't touch it though, just leave it. And it passed, which is good. Okay, so I have written down the weight of this, 7.31, and we get 16.21 every time I weigh it. So that's good, or 16.22. It's got a variance. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. It wasn't that expensive. I'm going to show you guys over the course of this video series some pretty powerful knowledge. In fact, I'm in the middle of finding out how powerful that can be. The way this started out, as you probably know if you've seen the other videos, is that I basically just wanted to see if the formula worked. I mean, I work with electronics all the time, and I wanted to see if this was feasible to really do this with chemistry that didn't require a license. Um, and as you can see by the weights, and the weight of the vial is printed here, 7.31, measured after it was cleared and on the same scale. And that means we have 9.2 grams here in total. Just over 9.2 grams. Well, that's pretty good. In fact, 9 grams is quite a bit, especially given that it's 24 karat gold. Might get 23, but it's right around there. By volume, by weight, it's pure gold, 100%. So, here's the problem. I spent a lot of time today. I live in Vanier. I walked to Westgate and back, all through downtown, all the way there, all the way back. It was a long slog, and it was totally unproductive. I called a jewelry store that I've done business with for 30 years. They don't want it. In fact, nobody wants it. And I say that because there was many years ago I was a picker. I used to pick musical instruments and jewelry and flip them. And then got to a point where my life got all screwed up and I couldn't do that. Got injured, ended up on the street. I really couldn't do anything at that point. I didn't have the money to put into it. I've been in that situation a few times in my life. And if I'd have known then what I know now, what I'm in the middle of learning, I could have been a wealthier man. And I could have gotten myself off the street or paid my rent when I was hard up. I mean, this is real power. I live in an industrialized nation, man. I live in Ottawa, Canada. There is gold absolutely everywhere. Every broken cell phone you see, every broken vaporizer, every vaporizer tip, those are gold, baby. Um, Now, I realize this isn't the kind of thing that everybody's going to do, but I have figured out a way now that even somebody living on the street, literally, could do this. All you have to do is take a vessel, wrap it in saran wrap once you've made your batch and put all your stuff in it, bury it in the ground, pull it out 3 days later if it's a batch of plated stuff like these. Now, not everybody wants to put in the legwork to go and gather that many of these. This is a lot of these, guys. But I'm out all the time. I do a lot of walking, and I see gold all the time. And I know gold when I see it. So I start collecting it. And I had done this long before I knew how to bring it back because I knew that I was going to figure out a way to do it. And I just knew that I was going to do it. I had planned it for a while and did my research, and but didn't have a proper method. I just figured I'd find a way to get the chemicals and do it that way, but it's a lot of money, and I just don't have that on welfare. People on the street aren't going to be able to do that. But this new salt acid method, it's so cheap. For literally $20, you could do two batches that are big enough to get you, well, out of my first two batches, I got 4.5 grams, guys, of 24 karat gold powder. But now you need to bring it into a bar. And this brings me to why I walked around all day and got nothing done. And it's because I thought once I had this powder, it's pure, I did a good job, I cleaned it thoroughly, it's really nice color, it's the perfect color, they say. Okay, so I did it perfect, but nobody wants it. And the reason they don't is because it's a powder. And by the standard tests, one being a test where we put it into water, it's called the displacement test. And we see literally how much water the gold displaces. And that's how we find out its density, and that tells us the carat. Okay, fair enough. But the other method is to put drops of acid on it. Well, you don't put drops of acid on powder or any other liquid on powder because you just ruined it, and it takes many, many hours to dry. Not to mention the fact that you're going to lose a bunch of it while you do it. So none of them want to do that. They don't want to deal with powder. Once you have it to this point, they will tell you to go make bars, which is what I got told. You have that, that's great. You got 9 grams, that's going to be worth a lot. We don't deal in that. We can't even test that to see if it's real. We can't take it. So I dealt with that all day. From places that know me, that know I'm honest. I'm no con, but it doesn't matter because this is the policy in these places, and the owner wasn't exactly there today when I went and called them. So, I called a few other places too. One guy got right hostile because I told him I'm a YouTuber, and I'll never do business with them. The guy was a total dick. And so, you know, this is not something I expected. I didn't expect people to be this jerk about it. And the ones who are sweet about it still had the same answer. No, we can't take that. We won't even test it. And I couldn't believe my ears. I couldn't believe they were telling me they refused to test it. I mean, all that work, all that time, all that effort, all that research, and they won't even test it? But then I thought about why. You can't put it in water. You ruin it. You can't put acid on it. It'll dissolve it instantly and you'll have nothing. So what do? You bring it back to solid. So this is the way you get the most money out of it, though, guys. And today, my roommate Jeff and I were talking, and he suggested crushing up a brick and basically making your own crucible out of the brick. And I'm like, well, I guess. I mean, you could technically do it, but it wouldn't be the best crucible in the world. And I don't want to do a pour. Then I need a mold and all this stuff. No, no, no. Then I thought, well, what if instead of that, because he was a millwright, he has some experience in this area too, and I'm a pretty experienced guy. So I said, well, what if we took like a drill bit, drilled into the brick where it's meatiest, and used the drill hole, put some powder in it, put a butane torch on top of it, and melt a little tiny bit of powder, then add more on top. Melt a little tiny bit, add more on top. Just keep doing that. I'll get a bar of gold, a round drill bit shaped bar of gold out of it. Of course, it won't look like a drill bit. It'll be one solid bar. And we'll use a 1/2 inch drill bit, drill it 1 inch deep, and do a pour. Weigh it, see how deep I need to make it for a given weight, and then set my little crucible up for a given weight. Now at that point, what you do is you break the brick once it's cooled. That's my plan. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it on film so that you guys can see it, and I'll walk you through the process. It's not that hard. And now that I have the next step of the plan, like this whole process has been like that. I had an idea, I formed a plan. It worked. Then there was more things I had to figure out, so I kept doing it, and I've got it all pretty much dialed in now really sweetly to make really clean, really beautiful powder without a lot of crap in it that anybody will test and get a good result from. As you can see, it's not all multiple colors. You know, this is one nice consistent batch of powder, and it's come from 4 different batches, guys. There's actually a range of carat here between 22 and 24 because there's still some junk in it and mix. It's hard to get absolutely everything out doing the water purification method, which is what I do. No filters. There's no filters to buy. There's no filters to burn and add junk to your batch. None of that. I did that. It sucked. Don't do it. Mind you, I just used the filters I had handy, but it sucked. Because it creates a lot of gunk and then it ends up in your batch and it makes your bars messy and all that stuff and they're nasty looking. You don't want that. You could do it and it won't really lower the value of it too much because it goes by weight and purity, but it will affect the purity. So, I want pure gold bars that are kind of pretty, but they don't have to be a nice shape. They just have to be pure gold. And they could be any shape. You could even melt it off in a crucible and then just pour it into a pot of cold water or room temperature water. Yeah, but cold water. You pour it into the water, and it forms like these kind of snowflake-looking droplets, and that's acceptable. That's a hard form of gold. They will take that. They will check it. They will give you cash for it. So that's the next step. There's a couple options. We're going to go through them together, and during the course of this video series, we are going to make gold bars, baby. Now, this is my way off welfare. This is what's going to happen here. This is my plan, to turn this into a small business and do this for myself. We're going to see if I can do it. Keith F.